What's up, everybody? Welcome into our LSU at Alabama instant reaction show here on the Bleacher Report mobile app. Stacey Blackwood, Jake Thomas here with you once again as we break down this game between LSU and Alabama. What a fun football game it was, Jake, there in Tuscaloosa. As Alabama gets the 42-28 victory over the LSU Tigers and kind of cements itself atop the SEC West for now. Still some football to be played. But, Jake, I think overall, Alabama fans have to be pleased with the way this team kind of bounced back, especially in the second half, and was able to outscore LSU 21-7 there in the final 30 minutes to get the 42-28 win. Jake, what are your instant thoughts on this big win for the Crimson Tide?
Man, the first half I was sweating bullets. I'm sure a lot of Bama fans were, and I'm like, my gosh, it's going to halftime. This is basically a 0-0 game coming out of the break, and I said, what kind of adjustments are we going to make? And Alabama made the necessary adjustments. And, it was a fun game through and through. I hate I think it was in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter, that Daniels got hurt because he's a really special player. And,
No doubt
he
about
is
it.
a really great player. And, he was having a Heisman type game until then. But, man, what else can you say about this Bama team? I mean, the resiliency. I mean, they just play through any kind of issue, especially early on the season. They're still, we talked about how there was just a team in a work in progress type deal. They put it all together offensively tonight, and I was glad to see it, man. Jalen Milroe, what an athlete that kid is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we got a couple polls, or we got one poll up in the chat right now. It says, did Jalen Milroe win over the Alabama fans tonight with his performance? So make sure you let your thoughts be known there in the poll. Also got one up on thoughts on Tommy Rees after tonight. Do you feel better? Still have some question marks or other? Make sure you let us know in the chat your thoughts on the game. Tuskegee Airman says, I'll have to rethink my frustration with him earlier in the season when it should have been with the coaches and how slow they took to build a game plan around him and his skill set. And I don't know if everybody caught this or not, but during the course of the game, Gary Danielson made the comment that said he had asked Tommy Rees, I think it was before the Tennessee game, when are we going to start to see more runs for Milroe? And he said, it's coming. So I think it's one of those things. It's something they've always wanted to do, but they were kind of holding off, maybe making Milroe develop a little bit more in the passing game. And I think you're starting to see that pay off now. Teams are they're slowing down on spying him as much because of his ability to throw the football now. And it just really opened up the game for him on the ground. 20 rush attempts, 155 yards, and an Alabama quarterback record 4 rushing touchdowns. So Milroe, just an unbelievable performance. He put the team on his back tonight. And also, Jake, I want to give credit to this offensive line who in the second half basically just took over the game and took the air out of the football, allowed the Alabama defense to sit on the bench for a large portion of the second half. And just a great performance by the offense there, all the offensive line up front. Jaden Roberts, Tyler Booker, J.C. Latham, Caden Proctor had his best game of the season, really did a good job on Harold Perkins tonight. So just an excellent job by the entire offense, made plays all throughout the contest, and then defensively, they really stepped things up in the second half, Jake, holding LSU to just 7 points. And I know Daniels did go out there in the fourth quarter, but Alabama had back-to-back stops. They looked like they were fixing to get another stop there and before he went out. So just an incredible performance. Kevin Steele, Nick Saban do a great job of making adjustments at halftime, and 21-7 in the second half, Jake, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You talk about the halftime adjustments. Alabama's a second half team, and you now with LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee. I mean, they've only given up, and A&M. They've only given up what I think a total of 12 points in the total in the second half between those 4 teams. Now, I mean, that's incredible the amount of adjustments that they make in the second halves during some very critical games for Alabama. I mean, it's incredible. And one guy I also want to mention, Milroe needs to get his props as well, but I want to talk about Roydell Williams as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, that kid was running hard tonight. He was hitting the hole, and there was one play he was dragging a defender behind him. He was still just trucking. I'm like, man, I love Jason McClellan. McClellan had a really solid game as well, but Roydell, he just hits that hole so hard. and it just gives a little bit of energy to that rushing attack. It seems like, especially in the second half.
Yeah, and he had that little extra burst there in that second half after really not playing much, in the first half. So that extra burst was needed for Alabama in the ground game, and their ability to run the football in the second half, and not just even with Milroe, but with Roydell and Jace and Jan Miller,
Mm-hmm.
it changed the complexion of the game because it kept Jaden Daniels and that offense on the sideline. And then it allowed Alabama to kind of melt the clock away there in the second half, and they scored when they had the football. And you got to think Alabama had left 6 points on the board as well, Jake, because Will Rockard missed 2 field goals that he's going to make 99.9% of the time. So 6 points left on the board there. So really solid performance for Alabama. A great win simply because you knew that the offense was going to have to score to win this game. So, that sometimes puts a little extra pressure on you that's not needed. And so I thought Jalen Milroe in this offense answered the bell. I thought Tommy Rees did a great job of utilizing what Milroe does well. And I don't know who all got to check our preview show this morning on our YouTube channel, but I talked about the usage of Kendrick Law. And you saw that right out the gate. He's lined up in the backfield with both McClellan and Milroe as a running back. And they used him in a multitude of ways to not only get in the ball, but make him a lead blocker in the running game, getting the ball out in space. So Kendrick Law is a guy who's to watch here late in the season as a potential playmaker for this offense. And guys like Burton, I know he didn't have a huge game, but Burton and Bond continue to make clutch plays for this Alabama offense in the receiving game, picking up third downs. Alabama, they had to have been like 10 or 12 on third down or something like that in this game. So just phenomenal on third down conversions. And look, let's call a spade a spade. LSU's defense is not good, but you still have to make the plays, and they were able to make the plays and get the victory tonight. Big time win for Alabama. And like I mentioned, now they're 8-1, 6-0 in SEC play, and all they got to do is win.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And another thing you mentioned about the offensive line having their best game, I really feel like the emergence of Roberts on that line has been crucial. We really like Dalcourt, but he's been in the program so long, but it seemed like he was just there, and he wasn't like really getting any better. But man, Roberts, he's a mauler, man. He gets into the second level and starts blocking linebackers and at will. I mean, he's a great addition to the offensive line, and it seems that they're, like you said, they're starting to click a lot better here. And we talked about that, how it seems like under Nick Saban, the offensive line struggles early on, but when the games start mattering and deeper into the season, they get a lot stronger. And this unit is getting a lot stronger and is paying dividends so far.
Yeah, you definitely see the potential that this offense has, Jake, because if you look at the stats there, Burton, only 29 yards receiving. Amari Niblack didn't have a catch. So, two guys who are weapons for your offense didn't really have big games, but yet you put up 42 points, probably close to 500 yards. I don't know what the full yardage was for Alabama, but just this offense has so much potential because of the playmakers, the multitude of playmakers that they have. So 507 yards for Alabama, 478 for LSU. And I think LSU had over 300 in the first half. So less than 200 yards there in the second half for LSU. You see there, relatively clean game for Alabama, 6 penalties. It's a little bit more than what you'd like, but Jake, the one turnover there, keep it there, Jake. Big. The one turnover was really the turning point in the game in the second half for Alabama. They go down there, they get a score, and then Dallas Turner makes the deflection. Terron Arnold gets the interception, and Alabama punches it in. And I think that kind of breaks the will of this LSU team, and it was all downhill for there. And Tuskegee says the center is still snapping the ball low or too soon. Need to work on that. That to me is just mind blowing to me. I just don't understand what is going on there.
Yeah, that was crazy. And Milroe somehow was able to corral it and still made a positive play out of it when it was dead in the backfield potentially. It was, he has that magic about him. He gets a low snap and can make something work out of it. But it's just odd that Seth's struggling with his snaps this year.
Yeah. Well, and some positive news here. Look, 28 points is not, you don't want to give up 28 points, but Jake, To me, this is probably the best offense you're going to play all season.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You hold them to 7 points in one half. I know you, and Jake, that late touchdown in the first half, I thought could have potentially been a backbreaker for Alabama. But man,
Mm-hmm.
credit to Coach Saban and the entire coaching staff and those kids for Alabama. Jake, they just keep fighting, man.
Yep.
They have tremendous resolve, tremendous competitive spirit, and they just keep playing, man. And it's so much fun to watch this group compete because they're giving it all they got each and every play. And you can't count these dudes out, Jake. I mean, there's still a long way to go. You still got a road game next week at Kentucky. You got a road game to end the season against Auburn down there on the Plains, which is never easy to win at. But Jake, you got to like where this team is at because they have yet to play their best game, a complete game, and here they are in November, 8-1, atop of the SEC West, and college football playoff hopes still more than alive. So you got to like where you're at if you're Alabama football fans.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's exciting times right now. This team has improved since that loss against Texas. And I would venture to say if we played Texas, tomorrow, it'd be a different outcome. I'm trying not to sound like a homer, but this team has improved tremendously since that loss. They took their lumps in that game. They saw where, they need to work at, and they've worked on it, and they've gotten better each and every week.
Well, Milroe's not even the same. He's in a totally
No.
different universe than he was against Texas in week 2. So, I mean, this is basically a different season than what it was in early September.
Right. And,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the early on, you talked about the game planning. I guess we're still trying to figure out Milroe and what his tendencies were, and he was still relatively young. I mean, he was only making his third career start in that game, but he's grown up each and every game, and now it seems like the training wheels have come off, and they're allowing him to do what he does best, and that is just go make a play, and that's what he's done the last several weeks.
Yeah, and I think two things from tonight offensively that really stood out to me. I thought one was Alabama basically ran the ball at will.
Mm-hmm.
And number two is Jalen Milroe was more decisive, especially when on passing downs and on passing plays where he decides, you know what, I'm taking off and running.
Right.
So I thought those two things were really critical for Alabama's offensive success in this game. And it's really something that we haven't seen, at least on a consistent basis, except for tonight against LSU. So you see there 288 yards on the ground, a big-time performance, 219 through the air. So a very balanced performance for Alabama offensively, 507 yards. I know it's not a great LSU team or defensive team, but 500 yards on any SEC team is really good. And you see there the time of possession, 33 minutes to 26 minutes, a real key part to this game as well. Jake, defensively, I think in the first half, aside from that final minute, I thought the defense played pretty well then. Mm-hmm. But Jake, for whatever reason, in late game or late half situations, Alabama just cannot do the right things on defense.
No,
Jake, it was 3rd down and 6 with like 40 seconds left. There's two things you can't allow to this LSU offense. You can't allow Neighbors or Thomas to beat you deep.
Right.
And you can't allow Daniels to run for 50 yards.
Right.
Any other play is fine to give up, even if it's if it results in a first down. You just can't give up those two plays. And they let Jaden Daniels run for 50 yards on that play and get them in scoring position. And then one other play on that drive, Jake, the touchdown play. There's 14 seconds left when they snap the ball. They only have one timeout left. They throw it across the middle of the field, and Christian Story goes to knock the ball away instead of just making the tackle and play where the half probably runs out, or they only have time for one quick play and they probably have to settle for a field goal. So just situational football has got to be better and avoid those costly mistakes that would prevent a potential touchdown. So I thought other than that, in the first half, the defense kind of held their own. So, for 29 minutes, the defense did about as good as you can expect them to do against this type of high flying offense.
Yeah, I agree, Stacey. And two guys I want to point out, big game from Heather Downs. I mean, 12 tackles. I mean, this is incredible. And every time, he was in open field making most of those tackles, and he made them. That was incredible. And then the other one is Justin Aborgby. He was, I mean, it didn't seem like the defensive line did much tonight, but he was all over the place, and he had 6 tackles. And I think he had a sack. It says he got a sack out there as well.
He
so,
did.
I mean, yeah. And, I mean, he is starting to play his best ball since he's been in Alabama, and it's incredible. They talked about him during the game about being a leader, and that's what leaders do. They show up in big moments, and he showed up tonight.
Yeah, and I think one adjustment we saw in the second half that really made a big difference, especially in pass defense, was, and a lot of it, some of it was because Jalen Key got hurt. But in the second half, we brought in Trey Amos at corner, moved Malachi to safety, and put Terry on at star. So that I think that allowed us to have better matchups against those receivers in the second half, and it really made a big difference. And there hasn't been any word on Key officially yet, or Lawson, but I think Lawson got back in the game. Did he not?
I can't remember. He might have. I'm not 100% sure.
But we'll find out about those. I'm sure Coach Saban will provide a update on those guys either tonight or Monday on his press conference.
Well, the great thing, like you said, Stacey, about the second half adjustment, about moving Arnold to the star, that gives you a better matchup because you can't have a mismatch there like you normally would in a game, because when you got a corner who can play that position, that's a lockdown corner like Arnold is, that just helps you out. And I feel like Amos is just as good as Arnold and Kool-Aid. So, I mean, Alabama's got 3 lockdown corners that they can go to at any time. And I kind of had a feeling that they was going to pick on Arnold a little bit tonight because I knew they weren't really going to throw towards Kool-Aid much. And Arnold had his own, I thought.
I only remember one target at Kool-Aid throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
Now they went after Arnold, then they went after Amos, but I as far as pass defense goes, I thought it was pretty solid. I'm not sure what Jaden Daniels' numbers finished at, but I thought pass defense was pretty solid there in that game overall. I mean, considering he's the nation's leading passer.
Yeah, and the big 4th down play from Malachi, I thought that was huge.
Oh yeah, that was a huge play.
Pretty.
Huge play.
That was pretty. Yeah.
And that was basically the same play they beat us on the 2-point conversion last year in Baton Rouge. So once again, great discipline and great adjustments being made there for Alabama defensively. And you beat a team 42-28, a team that's going to, like I said, be the best offense you play all season. And I just feel like this defense, even though they in moments they looked vulnerable, just overall, Jake, they make the plays when they got to make them, and that's the sign of a good defense. And offensively, they're still just improving each and every week. Milroe gets better each and every week, and this team is slowly but surely turning into a championship caliber team.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't ask much more from the offense tonight, and defensively, like you said, there was more like a bend but don't break type defense, especially in this game. And like you said, holding an offensive team like LSU to 28 points, that's huge. I would take that as a win any day of the week. So I'm very proud of how the team performed tonight.
Yeah, and like Will Rockert had an off night, Jake, going 0 of 2 on field goals, and you got to think that he's going to make those kicks most of the time. But overall, big win. They cover the spread big time. I mean, the spread, what was it, 3.5, and then they get a 14-point win. So great win. Let's look at the chat real quick, Jake. Ken KB says a lot of shallow crossers, deep fade on sideline to start second half. And, of course, first LSU touchdown. Secondary played pretty well, though. Yeah, and on that their touchdown drive to open the second half, that throw and catch from Daniels to Neighbors.
Yeah.
What are you going to
do? That's perfect by them. And we had perfect coverage, I thought, too.
Oh, Malachi Moore was in great position. Just, I mean, a perfect throw and perfect catch is going to beat perfect coverage every time. So
Right.
sometimes Jake, and I think fans have a hard time admitting this, but sometimes you just got to tip your hat to the other team.
Yeah, I'd be like, well,
I mean,
good
that's
job.
one of those where if you're Malachi Moore, you look at Malik Neighbors, you're like, hey, you got me there. And then you look back at Jaden Daniels like, I mean, great throw.
Yeah, I did everything I could, but you still beat me. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You know, that's how that played out. But, you know, I agree. King KB, the secondary I felt played really well. And I mean, Caleb Downs, again, he had his best night, I feel like. And he's only a freshman, man. That's scary on how good he is.
And one thing, Jake, about Downs is that dude just don't miss tackles. He
No.
makes so many open field tackles that keeps guys from picking up first downs.
Mm-hmm.
I bet he had 4 or 5 of them tonight, Jake. And those are plays that go unnoticed most of
Right.
the time because they don't show up in the box score. They don't show up on the stat sheet. But I wish there was a stat that showed tackles made that prevented a first down. Because I guarantee you Caleb Downs would be at the top of that list because that dude just makes open field tackles like it's nobody's business. And he just continues to be, one of the best defenders in the country, and he's a true freshman.
Yeah, and that's crazy. Tuskegee Airmen said, why did we have a spy on Daniels? I don't know. Did I thought we spotted him a good,
I think the problem with containing him was about our rushing lanes on the defensive front.
Right.
I thought on too many occasions our ends got upfield a little bit too much, a half yard too much, and against a slippery, quick guy like Jaden Daniels, he's going to beat you on that. So I just thought our front needed to be a little more disciplined, and they were in the second half.
Yeah. I was going to say in the second half, it seems like instead of rushing to the point of attack, they was just staying in their lane and kind of made him into a pocket, and he wasn't able to escape as much as he did.
Which also led to the interception because what you saw from Dallas Turner was instead of rushing upfield, he kind of has a stalemate there with the tackle, not really trying to get upfield, and it allows him to jump up and tip the ball and create an interception for Terrion Arnold. So I just think defensively what they were doing in the first half, the edge guys especially, was just getting too far upfield, and it allowed Daniels to take off. And he gets his momentum going. It's hard to get him down. The dude's so slippery. I think he's faster than what he looks like he's running. And almost like if you remember the way Jalen Hurts ran, like it didn't look like he was moving fast, but nobody ever caught him. So
it's just gliding.
Gliding on like he's running on clouds or something.
Yeah. AR Bad 91 says, I don't think the hit on Daniels was dirty, but you hate to see a young man go down like that. Yeah. They were speaking about targeting and all that. I didn't really see targeting there. It was just
I didn't see roughing the passer.
I didn't either.
He was making contact right as Daniels was letting go of the ball. What's he supposed to do?
Right.
And his momentum was carrying him that way.
Yeah.
What is the guy supposed to do? And for all the people talking about the being a flag for or it should have been called for targeting, it shouldn't have been. I'm sorry, it shouldn't have been roughing the passer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The SEC has set the standard for roughing the passer last year when they literally allowed Tennessee's guy to run like a bull and hit Bryce Young in the face mask with the top of his helmet, and nothing was called.
Right. Yeah.
So it gets on my nerves. You can't even touch quarterbacks anymore. And I hope Daniels is okay. I hate that he got hurt. I don't want anybody to get hurt for anybody. So I hate that he got hurt, but man, dudes get hurt in football. It's football.
Right. And Tuskegee Airmen said there were several missed calls from the refs. One of the officiating tonight was weird. What that first series that we got a penalty and the mics were apparently off, and nobody knew why we got a penalty. They thought it was roughing the passer on Daniels, and he tripped on his own player. I was like, it don't make any sense. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there because we never got an explanation.
And then Jake, they call Alabama for false start when LSU literally jumped into the neutral zone.
Oh yeah.
It just that's like the most obvious penalty ever.
I know it. Yeah,
and I don't even get me started on the way 41-15. I don't know how their jerseys. I don't know how their jerseys stayed on in that game.
Yeah,
but
I want one thing. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Um, you know, this right here, I think it's Perkins. He did end up having 8 tackles, but it seemed like he had a quiet night. I felt like it was a really turning point in the game because you didn't really hear his name called much.
Well, we didn't allow him to dominate.
Right.
In what Alabama done is that they ran at him a lot, they
Mm-hmm.
threw at him a lot, and it really took him out of his comfort zone. Now he's a great player, and he made some
He
plays.
is.
He obviously got a sack real early in the game, but that wasn't on the offensive line. Milroe
No,
sat back there for.
a
I
little bit
think
too
you read.
long.
I think you read 2 chapters of a book when he was back while he was back there.
Yeah, but
But all right,
yeah.
guys. Hey, Jake, what a great win for Alabama, 42-28 over LSU. If you're
Mm-hmm.
an Alabama fan, you have to feel good about where you're at right now,
Yep.
sitting at 8-1, 6-0 in SEC play, and everything in front of you to make a run at the college football playoff, Jake. And could be Georgia lying ahead in Atlanta for the SEC championship game, but you got to get through Kentucky next week on the road. Going to
Mm-hmm.
be tough, Jake, against Kentucky.
Yeah.
11 o'clock kick up in Lexington, coming off a big win. I'm anxious to see how this team comes out and looks against Kentucky to start that game because they need to come out and just play their game, dominate the line of scrimmage, and take care of business on the road before they end the season against Chattanooga and then Auburn. But been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us here in the live chat for our instant reaction to Alabama's 42-28 win over the LSU Tigers. If you haven't already, head over to mine and Jake's YouTube channel, Tide Talk Live. Catch us there. Bleacher Report, once again, thank you so much for providing this platform for us to give us so we can give our thoughts and opinions on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Cannot wait to be back again next week to recap Alabama, Kentucky. We'll see you guys then. And until then, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Good job, buddy.
Nice. Boy, that was a fun game.
Big win. Big win.
Big win. Big win.
The truth is, Jake, in all honesty, I think if Alabama would have played their best game today, I think we probably would have won like 52-21.
Yeah.